My boyfriend is the company's boss. He says we need to avoid suspicion. At work, he calls me by my full name and speaks to me coldly. But at home, he calls me baby, showering me with kisses and hugs. I can't take it anymore. I want a love that's open and unashamed. 1 second ago, I told him we were breaking up. The next second, he rushed out of his office with reddened eyes. No, baby, me. Exclamation point. The whole company. 1. Robert is my boss and also my boyfriend. I was the one who pursued him first. When I joined the company, Robert was the one who interviewed me. I wasn't particularly interested in the position at first. The pay was low, and there was too much grunt work. But I fell for him at first sight. I vowed to win Robert over the moment I laid eyes on him. Robert was handsome. Over 6 feet tall with sharply defined features that perfectly matched my aesthetic preferences. The key was that he even promised me a raise. So it didn't take long before I launched an enthusiastic pursuit of him. Just when everyone thought I was bound to hit a brick wall, Robert actually agreed surprisingly quickly. That day, I followed him on tasks all day long and still had to work overtime after returning to the company in the evening. I was so exhausted that I fell asleep without realizing it. When I woke up, I saw him sitting beside me with a cup of coffee, his cool voice sounding particularly alluring. Do you really like me? I nodded vigorously. He pulled me into a one-armed embrace, whispering close to my ear. Then let's be together, Eva. Holy shit. Just then, a colleague suddenly returned to the office to grab something. The next day, news about Robert and me being together had spread everywhere. Although we were a couple, Robert insisted that since he was the boss, he needed to treat everyone equally, so we had to maintain some distance at work. As for this distance, it was no different from that between any ordinary superior and subordinate. At the office, whenever I greeted him, he would only give a slight nod before moving on. He always calls me by my full name when giving me tasks. Even during team dinners, he wouldn't let me sit next to him. So privately, colleagues all gossip that Robert doesn't actually like me. He only agreed to be with me because I pestered him into it. What you all don't know is how we are at home. Robert is both clingy and fiercely passionate. No matter what we're doing, he's always calling me baby this and baby that. He takes care of all the household chores. Since I often wear high heels and my feet ache, he massages them for me every night. That's precisely why I endure his coldness toward me at the company. 3. A new employee joined the company, Hannah. I heard she's from a family that's been friends with the Roberts for generations and just returned to the country this year. She's beautiful, exuding an air of elegance, with every gesture radiating grace and confidence. As soon as she arrived, she handed out gifts to everyone in the company, winning a wave of goodwill. When she approached me, she carried a pleasant fragrance of perfume. With a smile in her eyes, she placed a bottle of Q perfume on my desk and said brightly, "You must be Robert's girlfriend, right?" In an instant, all eyes around us were fixed on us, as if anticipating a spectacle. "Brother Robert, how affectionate." "Yes," I replied with a smile. She continued to smile, but the warmth didn't reach her eyes. "Nice to meet you. This perfume smells lovely. It's yours now." I thanked her politely, though I never wear perfume. While in the restroom, I overheard people chatting. Honestly, someone like Hannah is much more suited for Robert. Exactly. Not only is she beautiful, but she's also kind-hearted. Plus, their families have known each other for generations. They're a perfect match. Given how Robert treats Eva, I bet he'll lose interest in her soon enough. Exactly. Although Eva isn't bad-looking, she's nowhere near as beautiful as Hannah. I opened the door and walked straight out. The two of them froze when they saw me. Sheepishly, they apologized. "Sorry about that, Eva." Then she awkwardly slipped away. To say I wasn't upset would be a lie, but I still trusted Robert. While washing my hands, the door to the other restroom opened. I looked up and saw Hannah's reflection in the mirror. She couldn't help but smile as she walked up to me. "Sorry, I accidentally overheard too." I turned off the faucet and smiled nonchalantly. "It's fine." She adjusted her hair, then looked at my reflection in the mirror. "But they're not entirely wrong. I really am more suited for Brother Robert than you are." I froze at her words. The look in her eyes was no longer innocent, but filled with disdain and provocation. I sneered inwardly. She had finally dropped her facade in front of me. Suddenly, a phone call came through. It happened to be Robert. I answered the call right in front of Hannah. "Hello, darling." Robert's tone carried a hint of playful whining. "Baby, did you fall into the toilet? I've been waiting for you in the garage forever." My heart melted sweetly. "I'll be right down." "Okay," he said, then planted a virtual kiss through the phone. Hanging up, I smiled radiantly. "Sorry, Hannah. My boyfriend's rushing me. See you later." Hannah's smile froze on her face, her complexion turning deathly pale. Once in the car, I cupped Robert's face and planted a flurry of kisses on him. He held me close, his ears red as if flushed with blood. "What's gotten into you today? So impatient. We've got all the time at home." I patted his chest. Hurry, let's go home." 5. Normally, I fall asleep the moment my head hits the pillow. But tonight, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, all I could see were the words I'd overheard in the restroom today and Hannah's determined expression. I nudged Robert beside me. He murmured drowsily, "Again?" "Again, what again? People are most likely to tell the truth when their mind isn't clear." I asked him, "What's your relationship with Hannah?" "Nay, Borse. Childhood sweethearts." He shifted slightly. "So, do you like her?" He turned over. "Huh." I got a little annoyed. "Stop with the hmms and talk properly." He turned over again, wrapped his arms around me, and fell fast asleep. Damn it. Now I really couldn't sleep. 6. The next day, I dragged my exhausted body back to the office. At lunchtime, Hannah carried her tray and sat across from me. I was about to get up and leave, but her words made me change my mind. Do you know why Robert keeps his distance from you at work? What? She even knows about Robert keeping his distance from me? I stared at her, waiting to hear what she would say next. Because Robert will eventually break up with you. You two can't get married, and he doesn't want things to end up being this awkward. Ha, as if you know. I stood up, picking up my plate. I don't believe you. Hannah was frustrated once again, stomping her foot in anger. You're just lying to yourself. It's a lie to say I didn't believe her. Hannah's words still got to me. Another sleepless night. I unlocked Robert's phone. I've always known his passcode, he told me himself, saying I could check his phone anytime I wanted. But I never checked even once. I first opened his chat page with Hannah. It was clean, just as I was about to put my mind at ease and close my phone. I accidentally slipped and opened his chat page with his mom. I froze. Robert's mother said, Choo Choo has joined your company. You should take good care of her. After all, she's going to marry into our family someday. Robert replied, okay. My phone slipped from my hand. Marry into their family? Okay. 7. Early in the morning, my eyelids were heavy with sleep. I looked at Robert with tearful eyes. Robert, are you hiding something from me? His dazed eyes suddenly cleared a bit. And no, not at all. Liar. He stutters whenever he's nervous. I instantly wilted, feeling utterly disappointed. You sleep a little longer. I'll make you breakfast. Then, like someone with a guilty conscience, she dashed out in a flash. I stared blankly at the ceiling. My heart felt vaguely uneasy, yet I still hoped Robert would come clean with me. Back at the office, Robert was in a rage first thing in the morning. It was said that the proposal Team 2 submitted to the client was incorrect. The client outright refused to work with us. When the project manager came out of Robert's office, he looked like he'd aged 10 years in an instant. Although Robert hadn't blamed Hannah yet, she was already crying uncontrollably at her desk, because this project proposal was her responsibility. The project manager called Hannah into his office. Her crying intensified, but soon after, Hannah emerged from Robert's office. She came out with a smile still on her face, seemingly in a good mood. The moment our eyes met, her gaze carried the air of a victor. When she returned to her seat, a colleague curiously asked, Robert didn't do anything to you, did he? Her voice was neither too loud nor too soft, just enough to reach my ears. No, he said, since I'm new here, he won't hold it against me this time. My colleague couldn't believe it. Did I hear that right? There was another new colleague who made a mistake before, and Robert fired him on the spot. My heart sank inexplicably. In the past, I had made mistakes too. But Robert treated me as harshly as any other colleague, showing no mercy. Though I felt upset inside, I still chose to understand him. But now that Hannah made a mistake, why is Robert letting her off so easily? 8. While making coffee in the break room, I overheard gossip behind the glass door again. I'm telling you, Robert must have fallen for someone else. Exactly. Remember how he used to scold everyone for making mistakes before? Even Eva wasn't spared. But now Hannah made such a huge mistake, and he's acting like nothing happened. This is what you call blatant favoritism. I was so absorbed in their conversation that I didn't notice the boiling water overflowing until it scalded my hand, snapping me back to reality. My hand was scalded red, the pain sharp. But the ache in my chest was worse, more suffocating. I could barely breathe. Clutching my water cup, I hurried out of the break room, though it felt more like fleeing. In that moment, I was terrified they might see me. I returned to my seat in a daze. I opened Robert's chat window. My eyes involuntarily welled up with tears. So, it seems what Hannah said was true after all. I always thought Robert was a man of principle. He wanted to treat everyone equally, so he didn't want people to think I'd receive special treatment just because I was his girlfriend. I understood him and accommodated him. But when Hannah appeared, I realized these rules could be broken for her, that this avoidance of favoritism was only directed at me. My heart grew cold. Of course, after all, I wasn't the one he was going to marry. 9. As the workday neared its end, Robert sent me a message. I'll take you out for something delicious after work. I felt inexplicably irritated. Biting my lip, I replied, I'm not going. All right, then let's watch a movie. Robert, let's break up. After 2 minutes of silence on the other end, the reply came. Why? I was just about to launch into a lengthy tirade against him. The next second, to my surprise, Robert rushed out of his office. His action drew everyone's attention. He walked straight to my side, grabbing my hand with reddened eyes, his slightly hoarse voice trembling. Don't, baby. Me. Exclamation point. The entire company. 10. Under the collective gaze of everyone, Robert led me into his office. This was the first time he had held my hand in front of the staff, and the first time he had taken me into his office in public. Robert looked at me incredulously. Give me a reason, please. I took a deep breath and got straight to the point. I saw your chat history with your mom. You and Hannah have an engagement? Robert froze for a moment before hurriedly pulling out his phone to search through it. Then he heaved a sigh of relief. You've misunderstood. Hannah isn't marrying me, but my younger brother. Your brother? I was stunned. Since when did you have a younger brother? He explained. Due to certain circumstances, my brother was raised at our aunt's house since childhood. As an adult, he developed his own ideas and never came back to live with us. Later I started my own business, and my younger brother took over our family company. So this business marriage alliance with the Chu family is between him and Hannah. It has nothing to do with me. Fortunately, my brother fell in love with Hannah at first sight, and Hannah was quite happy when she found out she was going to marry into our family. After hearing this, I looked into his eyes. Really? When have I ever lied to you? I was half convinced, half doubting. But Hannah likes you. She's happy because she always thought she was going to marry you. Robert froze upon hearing this, a crack seeming to appear on his face. No way. He then rubbed his temples. I'll explain it to her clearly. My mood eased a little, but the thought of breaking up still hadn't gone away. At this moment, Robert took my hand. Now that the misunderstanding is cleared up, can we not break up? I pull my hand back. No. Why? It was as if I'd opened a floodgate, and I said bluntly, your mom asked you to take care of Hannah, and you've done such a great job that you can even forgive her for making such a huge mistake. But with me, it's all about treating everyone equally. That really pisses me off. Ultimately, you still don't care enough about me. After hearing this, Robert carefully grasped my shoulders and said, this is my fault. I've been neglecting your feelings and didn't communicate well with you. I didn't know how to properly balance work and our relationship. I was afraid you'd face gossip, and I thought this was a way to protect you. If you don't like it, I can change. Hearing this made my eyebrows twitch. But through this, I also came to see my own heart clearly. I don't like this ambiguous feeling. What I truly want is an open and honest relationship. In a moment of impulse, I blurted out to him. No need. Actually, you and Hannah are quite compatible, childhood sweethearts, well-matched in social status, and besides, she likes you too. Robert's hands trembled as he grasped mine after hearing this. 11. Exiting Robert's office. The team held their breath yet couldn't suppress their curiosity, casting frequent glances in my direction. Ultimately, the project manager, either brave or foolish, approached me and asked, did you and Robert break up? At that moment, the surroundings became eerily quiet. No, we're just in a Cold War. I was about to agree with him when Robert's voice suddenly cut in. The project manager was so startled that water spilled from his cup. I frowned without looking at him and said to the project manager, we've broken up. Robert's expression instantly shattered into pieces. The project manager took a sip of water to calm his nerves. It's normal for couples to argue sometimes. To show my determination to break up, I decided to move out. When I told Robert, he closed his eyes, unwilling to face it. But in the end, I resigned myself to it. Fine, I'll help you move. No need. I've asked Andrew to help. Robert's eyelashes trembled slightly, his Adam's apple moved, but he said nothing. After packing everything up, I was just about to call Andrew. At that moment, the front door opened. Robert walked in, panting heavily. I was stunned. He gasped out, Andrew is working overtime tonight and can't make it. Let me help you instead. Oh, okay. I turned around and immediately texted Andrew. Are you working overtime tonight? Yeah. Robert said there's an urgent document to revise before leaving. I'm so done with this. Didn't you have a business dinner? I asked Robert. Yeah, it's cancelled. He said it casually. My hand holding the luggage trembled. 12. While moving things, Robert was dragging his feet. He could have carried several items at once, but insisted on moving them one by one, completely unlike his usual efficient manner. By the time we reached the new place, it was already 11 p.m. The place I just rented isn't very big, and the apartment is a bit old, but the rent is cheap, and it's close to the office. Robert hesitated before finally speaking up. This place isn't good. Let me help you find another one. No need. I think it's fine. I directly refused his kindness. A lonely look fell into his eyes. I handed him a drink. Thank you for today. He lowered his gaze at the drink, suppressing the bitterness, and said dejectedly, we've grown distant. My heart tightened, feeling somewhat upset. When Robert left, his retreating figure looked somewhat dejected. I couldn't help but look out the window at him. Under the dim streetlights, with few pedestrians around, Robert melted into the night, making the surrounding scenery appear especially desolate. He didn't leave immediately, but leaned against the wall, a spark glowing before his lips. This was the first time I'd seen him smoke. 13. Since that night, Robert seemed like a completely different person. I never expected the breakup would affect Robert this much. During the meeting, Robert, who's always been serious and meticulous, actually spaced out. The project manager finished presenting his work with great enthusiasm and asked Robert if he had any questions. Robert blinked, cleared his throat, and then said, could you go through that again? The project manager's straight back suddenly slumped. Some said Robert had given him instructions today. The same task repeated 3 times. Others claimed Robert forgot to press the floor button in the elevator, standing dumbly as it went up and down 3 times. There were even whispers of someone spotting Robert secretly wiping tears in his office. 14. Work remained the same, as always. The difference was that at the company, I'd instinctively avoid Robert. But strangely enough, back when I didn't deliberately try to avoid him, I'd barely run into him a few times a day. Now that I was actively trying to dodge him, it felt like he was everywhere, completely unavoidable. Heading to the break room to make coffee. A tall figure stood beside me. I didn't need to look to know it was Robert. In the past, Robert would never have stayed in the same break room with me. I've been to the break room 3 times now, and each time I've run into him. How coincidental. Running into you again, he said stiffly. I tilted my head and sighed. Yeah, what a coincidence. Robert seemed like he wanted to say something more. At that moment, Hannah also walked in. She feigned surprise. Oh, Brother Robert and Sister Eva are both here. I took a step forward. I won't disturb you. Then I quickly walked out. Halfway there, a figure suddenly appeared beside me, walking as swift as the wind. I turned my head and saw Robert, who had somehow ended up by my side. I couldn't help but ask, Robert, why did you follow me? I'm going back to the office. I stopped, and he stopped too. I pointed to the door behind him. Robert, your office is over there. Oh, right. 15, lunchtime. I happened to run into Andrew, so I sat with him. We were chatting happily when I looked up and saw Robert approaching with his tray. With a dark expression, he took long strides and sat down beside me. Song. Robert. Andrew immediately became tense, lowered his head to shovel a few mouthfuls of rice, then claimed he was full and fled with his tray at lightning speed. I turned my head to look at Robert. His hand holding the chopsticks trembled almost imperceptibly. Then he began eating as if nothing had happened. To be honest, this was the first time he'd sat down to eat with me at the company. Why is Andrew so afraid of you? I suddenly asked him out of the blue. He choked slightly and took a sip of soup. Maybe because I'm quite strict with him. Something's not right. I secretly messaged Andrew to ask what was going on. Andrew replied, lately, I don't know what's up with Robert. Every time he sees me, his eyes seem to hide daggers, and he keeps asking me about work. Me. 16. The company organized a dinner gathering. As usual, I deliberately chose a seat as far away from him as possible. As soon as I sat down, Andrew greeted me with a hearty laugh. I only then realized he happened to be sitting right next to me. For some reason, I suddenly felt a scorching heat. When I looked up, oh, it was Robert's fiery gaze. I glared at him, and only then did he awkwardly turn his head away. After returning from the restroom, I found that Robert had taken Andrew's seat beside me. I looked around, and sure enough, Andrew had been moved to Robert's original spot. Originally, Robert's seat had been surrounded by a circle of executives. Now Andrew was huddled among a group of superiors, trembling with fear. I face-bombed. I'd accidentally screwed Andrew over again. Just then, Hannah tiptoed over in quick, light steps and swapped seats with a colleague next to Robert. The moment Hannah sat down, Robert scooted closer to my side. I saw Robert leaning in and was about to scoot aside. But then I realized I couldn't move. Looking down, I saw Robert's hand gripping my chair tightly, veins bulging. I was already annoyed and had been planning to quit, but I have a project in progress and I don't want to give up halfway. If this project succeeds, not only will I get a 20% commission, but it'll also look good on my resume when I change jobs. That day, I was about to submit the proposal to Robert for review, only to find the file was missing. I searched through every file on my computer, but found nothing. The crucial point was, even the backups had been completely wiped clean. At that moment, I felt like the sky was collapsing. That was data I'd spent over a month collecting through field research, the result of working consecutive overtime shifts for an entire week. Tears welled up in my eyes as I spoke with a trembling voice. Who touched my computer? Clearly, no one answered, nor would anyone admit to it. The project manager came over and asked, "What's wrong, Eva?" I burst into tears, overwhelmed with frustration. My proposal is gone. All the materials have disappeared. The project manager widened his eyes, his face full of sympathy. Being in the same position, he understood all too well. He quickly said, "Don't panic yet. Let me contact IT and see if we can recover it." IT said there was a chance to retrieve it, but it would take a week. However, the client proposal was due in just 3 days. There was absolutely no way to make it in time. The project manager sighed, "Go apologize to Robert and see if we can postpone the proposal. Given your past relationship, it shouldn't be difficult." "No way. If you make a mistake, you should take responsibility yourself. Besides, after the last failed collaboration, the company leadership is paying close attention to this project, making this partnership especially important." I wiped my tears and sniffled. "No need. I made the proposal myself. It won't be hard to redo it. At most, I'll just go 3 days without sleep." The project manager cast an admiring glance. Youth is wonderful. 18. Robert was originally on a business trip, but he came back early today. He walked straight up to me with his briefcase. "I heard you lost your proposal? Bad news has wings." I stood up and said sincerely, "Yes, Robert, I'm sorry, but don't worry. I promise to redo it within 3 days." Robert wanted to say more, but seeing my stubborn expression, he ultimately swallowed his words. A hint of pity flickered in his eyes as he said softly, "All right." I threw myself into hard work. By the time work ended, all my colleagues had already left, but I showed no intention of going home. I was fully prepared to fight to the finish. However, I couldn't shake the feeling that ever since the workday ended, there had been a figure lingering near me. I turned my head and happened to meet Robert's gaze. I pretended not to see him. He walked over, hesitated for a moment, and said, "Let's go eat first." I tapped on the keyboard. "I won't eat. There's no time." This time his voice carried a hint of urgency. "At least eat something. What if you ruin your stomach from overworking?" "I don't want to eat," I said impatiently. No sooner had I spoken than my stomach betrayed me with an untimely growl. "How embarrassing. Let's go, my treat," he said, then added after a pause, "Considerate leadership caring for subordinates." I thought about it. Well, when the boss offers a meal, it'd be a waste not to accept. 19. Robert ordered a whole bunch of dishes according to my preferences. I quickly stopped him. "Don't order too much. We won't finish it. We still have to go back and work overtime later." Only then did he reluctantly close the menu. I didn't speak. Robert didn't know what to say either. That's true. When we were together before, I was usually the one talking while he listened. The atmosphere had become unbearably awkward. Suddenly, Robert blurted out, "This shrimp is huge." I gave him a puzzled look and simply replied, As we were eating, I heard him say again, "This congee is so white." Me. After a while, I heard him say, "This dessert is sweet." Me. Question mark. I wiped my mouth. "I'm done eating, Robert. I'm going back to work overtime first." Robert hurriedly followed after me. He definitely didn't eat his fill just now, judging by his usual appetite. Ugh. Why should I care about him? Back at the office, I threw myself into working on the proposal again. But Robert didn't seem to have any intention of leaving. After a moment, he pulled up a chair and plopped down beside me. I was startled. "Robert, what are you doing?" he said earnestly. "I'll work on it with you." I was taken aback. No, I made the mistake. You're the boss. You shouldn't have to stay late with me." He turned to look at me, his eyes both resolute and sincere. "This isn't just your project. I'm the boss, so it's my project too. If you make a mistake, it's as if I made the mistake. If there's an error, I'll bear it with you. Besides, if the project isn't completed, the loss is mine as well. I won't allow you to shoulder it alone." Hearing this, I felt both touched and guilty. I gave a slight nod. Robert instinctively raised his hand, about to pat my head. I dodged slightly. He clenched his fist and stiffly lowered his arm. The next morning, to my surprise, Robert actually dragged his chair over to sit beside me again. The colleagues looked like they wanted to watch but didn't dare. The sound of keyboard typing grew faster. I panicked instantly. "Song, director, you?" He deliberately squeezed closer to me. My hands were already flipping through the documents. "I'm done with my work. Let me help you." I bit my lip and had no choice but to continue with my own tasks. There was no denying that Robert and I worked together seamlessly. It was as if he could instantly guess my thoughts and intentions, immediately understanding what I wanted to do. In fact, he would even offer better revisions to my ideas. Although the proposal was only half finished, it somehow looked more perfect than the previous version. Lost in thought, he suddenly nudged me. "Focus. What are you thinking about?" I turned to look at him and found him so close that his features were within reach, his soulful eyes almost mesmerizing. This reminds me of how I fell for him in the first place, completely mesmerized by his aloof and aristocratic demeanor. My breathing instantly became ragged. To avoid being noticed, I immediately turned my head away. "Eva, what are you doing? Get a grip." 21. These past few days have felt like a dream. In the blink of an eye, it was already the day of the proposal. I deliberately wore a professional suit and put on a refined makeup look. When I ran into Robert in the morning, he stared at me in a daze, making me uncomfortable. "Good morning, Robert." I greeted him with a composed smile. He snapped back to reality and awkwardly replied, "Morning." Then he called out to me, "I'll drive you there later." I paused briefly. "Sure, that works. The project manager's car just broke down too, so we can all go together." The project manager looked up from a pile of documents. "Huh? My car?" I quietly kicked him. "Ah yes, thank you, Robert." In the car, the project manager was driving and I took the front passenger seat. Meanwhile, Robert sat in the back seat, his mouth corners drooping. The proposal went smoothly, and the clients expressed great satisfaction with strong willingness to cooperate. The moment I stepped out of the client's company, I felt the entire sky had cleared up. Robert stood beside me, hesitating for a moment. "You were brilliant today." In high spirits, I smiled. Without Robert, my proposal wouldn't have been this outstanding. "Thank you, Robert." I spoke words of gratitude, but the light in Robert's eyes instantly faded. He couldn't help but grab my wrist, his fingertips trembling slightly. Just as I was about to say something, the project manager caught up with us. Sorry, the restroom was too crowded." I immediately pulled my hand back. The project manager clearly saw the scene. Robert turned to glance at him, and he immediately said, "Oh right, I just remembered I have somewhere to be. I won't join you. I'll take a cab myself. Just grab a cab." With that, he dashed off in a flash. Robert looked at me. "Let's go." 22 in the car, I suddenly started having stomach pains. Perhaps I'd been pushing myself too hard these past 2 days. Never thought Robert's words would come true. I bit down hard on my lip, struggling to keep it from showing. At the traffic light, Robert glanced my way. He noticed something was off. "What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell?" I held back. "It's nothing, just period cramps." Robert frowned. "No, your period isn't due now." "Stomachache then?" I couldn't hold it in any longer and nodded. Robert didn't say a word. When the traffic light turned green, he decisively made a U-turn and got me to the hospital in the shortest time possible. After getting out of the car, he noticed I was wearing high heels. He scooped me up in his arms without hesitation. Flustered and embarrassed, I protested. "You don't have to carry me. This is so embarrassing." He walked briskly, gently comforting me. Who cares about embarrassment at a time like this? I had no choice but to bury my head in his shoulder. At that moment, I suddenly felt fortunate, as if whether in the past or now, wherever he was, I could always find peace of mind. Though sometimes he's clumsy with emotions, lately he started making changes for me. Looking back at myself, have I sometimes failed to understand and tolerate him enough, and not communicated properly with him? A pang of guilt hit me, and I held his hand even tighter. The doctor said my gastritis was triggered by excessive mental stress and irregular eating habits these past few days. Lying in the hospital bed, I felt much better after taking the medicine. As for Robert, he was running around like a headless chicken. One moment he was fetching me water, the next he was getting my medicine. No sooner had he sat down than he noticed my pale face, and was about to call for a doctor. Robert, I called out to stop him. I'm fine, could you stay with me for a while? Upon hearing this, Robert's eyes lit up, and he obediently sat down beside me. I looked at him calmly and said, thank you. He instinctively reached out to pat my head, his eyes filled with concern. Seeing you like this breaks my heart. My nose tingled with sourness as tears slid down my cheeks. Robert's warm fingertips brushed away my tears, leaving my heart in turmoil. I caught his hand and pressed it against my face, the familiar warmth flowing straight into my heart. Robert, I'm sorry. He leaned in close after hearing this, letting out a huge sigh of relief. Silly, the one who should apologize is me. He seemed to seize the opportunity, eagerly explaining. I've explained everything to Hannah. She knows the whole story now. It suddenly dawned on me that I hadn't seen Hannah much lately, and on the rare occasions we did meet, she had lost her former arrogant demeanor. Feeling relieved, I obediently nodded. 23. After being discharged from the hospital, Robert insisted on coming to my place to take care of me. Unable to dissuade him, I had no choice but to agree. Originally, Robert said he would leave after watching me fall asleep. He sat by the bed wrapped in a blanket, shivering from the cold. My heart softened. Since I'd already forgiven him anyway, I said, why don't you come up? Okay, Robert replied, squeezing onto the bed before I could even finish speaking. Not polite at all. I slept very soundly this time, with Robert by my side, always feeling warm and cozy. When I woke up, I found Robert was gone. I thought he had left. I never expected to open the bathroom door and find Robert standing inside. The air was hazy with steam. He was shirtless, and my gaze involuntarily dropped to his abs, still glistening with water droplets. I swallowed hard, suddenly feeling parched and slightly dizzy. Robert looked embarrassed, his voice husky as he said, I saw you weren't awake yet, got bored, and took a shower. I stared at him, unable to look away. Flustered, I randomly grabbed a facial cleanser from the sink. I just grabbed some cleanser. Then I turned around to leave. Suddenly, my waist was seized. Robert suddenly reached out and wrapped his arms around my waist. I could feel every inch of his skin touching mine burning with heat. My mind tells me to calm down. It's all happening too fast. I'm not used to it yet, but I can't control my actions. I gritted my teeth. To hell with it. Then I turned around, cupped Robert's face, and kissed him. Robert quickly took the initiative. The temperature in the bathroom began to rise, the humid air intoxicatingly hazy. After their lips parted, Robert's eyes glistened as he asked, coming? I lowered my head and pushed him away. Do it yourself. Then he ran away faster than a rabbit. 24. Robert and I got back together. We returned to the company together, and he kept holding my hand tightly the whole time, as if declaring his sovereignty. But before we could go upstairs, he received a phone call. His expression instantly darkened. He glanced at me, hesitating to speak. Just as I was puzzled, he said, we found out who deleted your proposal. My heart sank heavily. I had originally planned to investigate the loss of my proposal after the presentation. Little did I know Robert had already been looking into it for me. The surveillance footage showed that at 3 a.m. the day before I lost my files, Hannah had accessed my computer and performed a series of operations. I watched the footage with an eerie calmness. It was as if I had confirmed a truth I'd long suspected. The security guard said the surveillance footage from that day had been lost, but fortunately, he found a backup. All recordings were intact. I turned to look at Robert beside me. His lips pressed into a tight line, his expression grim to the extreme. Coming out of the security room, she squeezed my hand. I'll handle this properly. 25, soon. The documents regarding Hannah's case were made public and Robert dismissed her. She wailed and threw a tantrum in Robert's office. But Robert showed no mercy. This is no trivial matter. Have you considered the immense damage your momentary willfulness could cause the company? Do you have any respect for others' hard work? Hannah immediately fell silent. She looked at Robert with disappointment. After all these years of knowing me, not only do you not like me, but you'd side with an outsider over me? This isn't about taking sides. Whoever makes a mistake should face the consequences. Robert's voice softened. Besides, to me, she's not an outsider. My heart skipped a beat as I glanced at Robert. When Hannah left, she seemed completely out of sorts. It was Robert who showed her the last bit of kindness by calling the family driver to take her home. 26. I never expected Hannah to be like this. I actually quite liked her before. Yeah, I was blind to think she matched with Robert before. I'll gouge my own eyes out. Sigh. When will Robert and Eva get back together? They're the perfect match, made in heaven. Right? You didn't see how Robert's eyes were glued to Eva, and that baby, he called her, save me. I walked between them and said gloomily, you guys don't be ridiculous. They were startled, then said to me, Eva, I apologize for saying you and Robert weren't suited before. Can you two make up? Yeah, Eva, you should get back together with Robert. Someone started the commotion. I don't know who, and soon the whole office was in an uproar, everyone urging me to reconcile with Robert. I was just about to tell them that we had actually gotten back together. Robert came over at some point without me noticing. He quickly put his arm around my shoulders and announced to everyone, we're back together. After saying this, his face turned bright red. Cheers and blessings surrounded us from all sides. To celebrate, Robert gave the entire company a day off. Over 1,000 messages flooded the group chat. all sending us their blessings. 27. Several months later, Robert said Hannah's situation had been discovered by his family. The Song family directly called off the engagement. Yet Hannah actually went to the Song family to make a scene. Chu's father found her behavior disgraceful and sent her abroad again. What about your brother then? Robert bit my shoulder. Are you a dog? He said jealously. Why do you care so much about my brother? I tugged his ear, just showing some concern for my brother-in-law. Only then did he relent. After he found out about this, he immediately started disliking Hannah. He didn't fall in love with Hannah at first sight. My brother is the type who can fall in love with 3 people at a single party. Me. After a moment of silence, Robert suddenly wrapped his arm around my waist. Coming, let's go. When Robert proposed to me, he said his family had been preparing for the ceremony for several months, and at one point they even thought I had found out about it. I was completely baffled. When was this? When I woke up, I saw him sitting beside me with a cup of coffee, his cool voice sounding particularly alluring. One day after meeting, Robert kept the project manager behind to discuss work. I left a document behind, so I went back to get it. As I reached the door, I suddenly heard the project manager say, "Luckily, Robert, the wife you chased after almost slipped away." Robert laughed. "You and Andrew have worked hard these days. Let's give you both a raise." I couldn't help but chuckle when I heard that, after realizing, wait, wasn't I the one who pursued Robert? Why did the project manager say he was the one who pursued me? I pushed the door open, and both of them were startled when they saw me. "Robert, you'd better explain this to me clearly." Back home, Robert knelt on the keyboard and confessed everything truthfully. When I joined the company, he saw the photo on my resume and suddenly felt a flutter in his heart. So he told the project manager that he would personally interview me. Actually, he had taken a liking to me back then, though it wasn't very clear at first. It was only after spending more time together that he gradually discovered my good qualities. It suddenly dawned on me. No wonder a small employee like me was personally interviewed by the boss. No wonder the project manager always took me along whenever Robert went on business trips. No wonder he agreed so quickly when I pursued him. I always thought I was just lucky, but it turns out everything was arranged by him. The end.